Hello, everybody. Gbenga Olatunji here. Looking at methods of controlling risk, we are looking at embedding risk today. Embedding risk into the culture, embedding risk as in form of awareness, embedding risk as a means of risk management system. That is what we are going to be looking at under corporate strategic management and ethics today. From James Associate Gbenga Olatunji is my name one more time. For people that are just joining us, we love you. We say you are welcome and please go and subscribe. And for those that have been with us before, if you are yet to subscribe to, please go and subscribe and share. If you enjoy what you will hear, share to others to be beneficiary of it. So embedding risk, we are going to break it into 4 parts, and just like, let us take ourselves quickly back to agriculture. When a farmer is preparing a farm, they will say they must prepare bedding for the plants or plantation. So they will make beddings, or what we can call ridges too, so that they soften the surface and the land, so that by the time they are preparing, the thing can easily germinate, have support system on the heads, and grow easily and bear fruit as expected. Likewise, an organization that embed risk into its culture and let everybody be aware of it in the organization. So in 4 categories, we'll be looking at embedding risk. Number 1, we'll be looking at embedding the risk awareness into the systems and into the procedures of the organization. We are going to look at it from the point of cultural embedded in also. That is embedding risk management awareness into the culture of the organization. Also, the roles of the professionals, the risk managers, the risk auditors, what are their roles, and also what are the limitations. That is what we should not expect from them, because they will not be able to deliver it. 2 things that risk professionals cannot do. And also we are going to look at the importance of risk awareness into the systems, procedures, and the culture of the organization. So let us take them one after the other. Of course, by now, when we are talking about what risk is, and method of risk and the like. So when we are talking about embedding risk into the systems and the procedures of the organization, we are talking about ensuring that nobody, no matter how great or no matter how junior the person may be in our organization, we know what risk factors the organization is bearing, especially from the point of his or her contribution, department, and function. That is risk awareness being embedded into the systems and procedures. Don't forget, system is an interrelated mechanism or organisms that work together. A car system has so many units come together as one to function in form of a vehicle. So that is a system. So let's look at procedure. A procedure simply means policies internalized by the organization, like the framework to which everybody must work with. Those are policies. Statement of operations, SOPs. Those are policies. So when we are preparing our SOPs and the like, even we should communicate the risk that each department will bear, as much as we are expressing their job function and job description. Also, the risk that department and function will be contributing to the organization must be made known to the managers and to everyone. who has the responsibility, and the like two must be communicated. And of course, as we are discussing embedment, we must ensure that everybody has a role to play when it comes to risk. So that is risk awareness being embedded into the system and procedure of the organization. The role of professionals, the risk managers, the risk auditors. The role of the risk managers cannot be overemphasized. For effective risk management, we need to saddle some people with responsibility of managing it. No doubt about that, and we call them risk professionals. But as good as they are going to be with their team working together, they need to team up with our managers and every department, HOD, directors, and the like to be able to function. And this leads us to the two things that they will not be able to do for us, or do without us rather, in particular. Number one that they will not be able to do is to put in corporate culture. They will not be able to put risk into the corporate culture without us. So risk awareness incorporated into our corporate culture, they cannot achieve it without us. And when I mean us, I mean from the board of directors even to the lowest ranking staff. Another thing that they will not be able to do for us, the risk professionals, is that they cannot be the only risk managers. They cannot, even though they are saddled with this main responsibility, but they cannot be the only risk manager. You know what? Why? Because they cannot be in all places at the same time. Something will always happen where they are not present. I want to believe we all agreed as to that, because no one is omnipresent. Therefore, they need us for risk management to be effective in our organization. So do these two things we need to do with them. If not, effective risk management cannot be achieved in any organization without cooperation from every other element within the organization. So one of their role is to ensure that risks are well managed and communicated. They need to ensure that every function communicates risk when it arises. They must communicate it. They need to ensure that reports are getting to them about risk management or risk occurrence. It's possible that risks are not managed or are managed, but yet events still occur. So we need to report, and we need to report to them firsthand. So having and collating the checklist or the list of all risks that the organization is bearing, the professionals should do it. Monitoring it, the professionals should do it. Aggregating it and reporting it, identification and the like. These and many more are what the risk professionals can do on behalf of the board of directors, because they are going to be delegated onto. Means and medium of transferring risk could be determined by risk managers. That is effective way of transferring risk. They should look out for it and manage it. They need to work with the managers every time. They need to work with the managers to manage their risk on their behalf, to let them know how important they are when it comes to risk management. Now let us move on to embedding the risk awareness into the culture. When we are talking about culture of an organization, is of three layers: the outer layer, the middle layer, and the inner layer. The outer layers oftentimes are what people know the organization to be, in form of our symbols, in form of our logos and the like, ID and the like. So risk message of risk can be passed on through this medium too. But the most critical is the core. Those philosophies, the way we do our things here, they really matter. And this is what we are talking about when we are talking about embedding the risk awareness into the culture of the organization. We must ensure that people get orientated about the risk, that they can, each and every one of us will be able to identify risk, will be able to measure risk, the probability of its occurrence, and the impact of it if it occur, whether it's going to be disruptive to our business or not, and the like. We need to let our people be able to do this. Form of training, form of retraining, in form of daily communication, in form of recommunication, and the like. Every facet of our organization must communicate risk culture. The calendar, the board by the wall, different things we should ensure that they are communicating risk management in our offices. The role, the importance of risk awareness. If our people are not risk aware, we all know what will happen. Everything will go bad. If our people are not risk aware, profitability will be eroded. It is important that our people are made to be risk aware, to be risk conversant. It is important to allow and let our managers know, because each department are the risk contributors, know what their decision making could cause the organization or is causing the organization, what their department is contributing to the risk bottom line of the organization. We need to be aware of it and know how to manage it. When a manager knows that this aspect of our department is important because so and so could happen, and if it happen, this and this is what is going to be the impact on the organization, the manager will be able to guide the subordinates, and the subordinates too are already aware of it in form of repetition that the managers are making every day concerning that risk consciousness of the aspects of the business. And because they are doing that, people get to be aware of it, the organization saves money, and everything is well because we are risk aware. The consequences of not being risk aware also must be communicated. It is important for us to communicate what will happen if we do not try as much as possible to debar and deter risk from happening. There are some events that are out of our control as human, but nevertheless we must be aware of them and manage the risk. That's why we are talking about risk management. Some risks are pure risk, some are speculative. Don't forget the types of risk that we've already discussed. And because they are pure risk, because they are inherent risk, we could not control them. We could only manage them unless we want to avoid them outrightly. And when we avoid them, that means there's no business, right? Okay, and because we've accepted them, we just have to manage them, and that's why we are in the industry. Now, as we are rounding off controlling risk under risk management, next topic will be risk monitoring. Risk monitoring. How should we monitor our risk? That is what we are going to be looking at, and the responsibility. And before I go, it is the ultimate responsibility of the board of directors to ensure that risks are managed, and they can delegate this